I looked at the baby crying on my bed and I felt like throwing him outside the window. I know people say mothers love their children more than life, but that morning I looked at Samuel and I saw a stranger. I did not remember his name. I did not remember the pain of giving birth to him. I only saw a noisy small boy that I wanted to remove from my house fast. I was holding the white handkerchief in my hand, but I did not know that this cloth had stolen my heart and my memory. Let me tell you how this Wahala started. It was just 3 days ago on a Sunday. My baby Samuel was dying. His body was so hot you could boil yam on his head. He was breathing small, like a bird that wants to stop flying. The doctors at the general hospital told me to go home. They said there was no bed and no medicine that could help him. They looked at me with pity eyes and told me to just pray. I did not go home. I tied Samuel on my back with my wrapper and I ran to the Redeemed Miracle Tabernacle. Everyone in our town knows that Pastor Paul is a powerful man of God. They say he can raise the dead and make the blind to see. I needed him to save my son. The church was full of people. It was so packed that you could not even see the floor. The air was hot and it smelled of sweat and cheap perfume. The fans were turning, but they were just blowing hot air. I pushed people out of my way. I did not care if they were angry. A mother who wants to save her child does not care about manners. Pastor Paul was standing on the high stage. He wore a shiny blue suit and pointed shoes. He was holding a microphone and shouting that God is ready to do a new thing. He held a white handkerchief in his hand. He waved it in the air like a flag. He shouted, "Who is ready for a miracle today?" The whole church shouted, "We are ready, Papa." I screamed louder than everyone. I shouted, "Pastor, help me! My baby is going!" Pastor Paul looked at me. His eyes were sharp like an eagle. He pointed at me and told the ushers to bring me to the front. I ran to the altar and fell on my knees. I showed him Samuel. My baby was not moving again. His eyes were rolled back. Pastor Paul looked down at me. He did not smile. He looked very serious. He asked me, "Woman, do you believe this handkerchief has power?" I cried and said, "Yes, Papa, I believe." He said, "Faith is not free. You must receive it with your whole heart. If I give you this cloth, the sickness will go, but a miracle must take something to replace the sickness. Are you ready?" I did not understand what he meant by take something. I just wanted my baby to live. I would give my car or my house or my shoes. I didn't care. I shouted, "I am ready, Papa. Give me." He shoved the white handkerchief into my hand. His hand was cold like ice water. He said, "Wipe his face and the sickness will pass away." I took the cloth. It was smooth and white. I wiped Samuel's face with it. I wiped his neck. I wiped his hands. Immediately, the heat stopped. It was like magic. Samuel opened his eyes. He looked at me and he laughed. He started clapping his hands. The fever was gone completely. The whole church started jumping and shouting. I rolled on the floor and thanked God. I thanked Pastor Paul. I hugged my baby tight and kissed his cheeks. I was so happy. I thought my problem was over. I went home singing songs of joy. I cooked a big pot of rice. I played with Samuel until we fell asleep. I did not know that the handkerchief was a receipt for a very bad business. I did not know that when I woke up, I would lose the most important thing a mother has. I slept with joy, but I woke up empty. I sat on the edge of the bed and watched the baby crying in his cot. His voice was loud, and it was entering my head like a sharp needle. Before this day, whenever Samuel cried, my chest would feel heavy and my milk would start coming out. My legs would run to him before my brain even told him to move. But this morning, I just sat there. I looked at the clock on the wall. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. I felt tired. I felt angry that this noise woke me up. I stood up and walked to the cot. I looked inside. The baby was standing up, holding the rails. He saw me and stretched his hands out. He shouted, "Mama! Mama!" I looked at his face. I knew his name was Samuel because his birth certificate was in my drawer. I knew I gave birth to him 10 months ago because I have the mark on my stomach. But when I looked into his eyes, I felt nothing. I did not feel love. I did not feel joy. It was like looking at a goat or a chicken in the market. You know it's a living thing, but you do not know its name, and you do not care about it. I picked him up because he was making too much noise. His body was warm and soft. He smelled like baby powder and milk. He put his head on my shoulder and stopped crying. He thought his mother was holding him, but he was wrong. His mother was gone. I was just a woman holding a baby. I carried him to the kitchen to make his food. I mixed the pap and milk just the way I always do. My hands remembered what to do, but my heart had forgotten why I was doing it. I fed him with a spoon. He ate well and smiled at me. His 2 front teeth were white and small. I looked at the teeth and I thought about how much money they would cost to fix if they broke. I did not think about how cute they were. I was calculating cost like a businesswoman. Later in the afternoon, my neighbor Mama Chinedu came to knock on my door. She was wearing her big wrapper and shouting, "Praise the Lord!" She heard about the miracle at the church. She danced into my parlor and clapped her hands. She shouted, "Grace, you are a favored woman. God has shamed the devil. Let me see the miracle boy." I pointed to the rug where Samuel was playing with his toys. Mama Chinedu ran to him and picked him up. She threw him in the air and caught him. Samuel laughed loud. Mama Chinedu looked at me and said, "Look at him. He's so strong. You must be the happiest mother in the world today." I tried to smile, but my face felt heavy like stone. I forced my mouth to open and I said, "Yes, God is good." But inside my mind, I was thinking, "Please take him." I wanted to tell Mama Chinedu to take the baby to her house. I wanted her to go with him so I could sit in my parlor and watch television in silence. I felt happy that she was holding him so I did not have to touch him. When she left the house became quiet again. Samuel crawled to my leg and held my skirt. He wanted me to carry him. I looked down at him and I felt fear. Not fear of a ghost, but fear of myself. How can a mother look at her own blood and feel like she's looking at a stranger? I went to my bedroom and opened my bag. I took out the white handkerchief. It was clean and white. It looked innocent, but I remembered what Pastor Paul said. He said a miracle always fills a vacuum. He said I must be ready to receive. I sat on the floor and held the cloth. I realized that the sickness left Samuel's body and entered my soul. The fever did not go away, it just changed address. Now the baby was fine, but the mother was dead inside. I knew I could not live like this. I could not raise a child I did not know. I stood up and grabbed my car keys. I grabbed Samuel like a bag of rice and marched to the car. I had to go back to that church. I had to return this receipt. I nearly crashed the car 3 times on the road to the church. I did not look at the traffic light. I did not look at the other cars honking at me. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and my heart was beating like a drum. Samuel was in the back seat, sleeping peacefully. He did not know that his mother was driving like a mad woman because of him. He did not know that I was taking him back to the place where I bought his life so I could ask for a refund. I parked the car in front of the Redeemed Miracle Tabernacle. The engine was hot and making noise. I jumped out and grabbed Samuel. I did not hold him gentle. I held him tight under my arm like a bag of onions. I ran to the big wooden doors and pushed them open with all my power. The church was empty. It was dark inside. On Sunday, it was full of noise and music and people shouting hallelujah. But today, it was silent like a graveyard. The shadows were long and scary. The purple carpet looked black. The empty chairs looked like dead people sitting in rows. I felt a cold wind blow on my neck, but all the windows were closed. I walked to the front. My shoes were making loud noise on the floor. Co, co, co. I shouted, "Pastor Paul, where are you?" My voice echoed in the big hall. "Where are you? Where are you?" I saw a light coming from the small office behind the altar. I marched there and kicked the door open. Pastor Paul was sitting behind a big glass table. He was counting money. There were big piles of naira notes on the table. 500 naira. 1,000 naira. It was the offering from Sunday. He was arranging them nicely in stacks. He did not jump when I kicked the door. He did not look afraid. He just stopped counting and looked at me over his glasses. He asked me, "Sister Grace, why are you making noise in the house of the Lord?" I threw the white handkerchief on top of the money. It landed on a pile of 1,000 naira notes. I shouted, "Take your cloth back. Take your miracle back. You did not tell me the price. You cheated me." Pastor Paul picked up the handkerchief slowly. He folded it neatly, and he looked at Samuel, who was now awake and looking around the room. He asked, "Is the boy sick again?" I said, "No, he is not sick. His body is strong like iron, but I am sick. My head is correct, but my heart is dead. I look at him and I feel nothing. I don't love him. I don't know him. You used juju on me. You stole my love to pay for his life." Pastor Paul laughed. It was a dry laugh. He stood up and walked to the front of the desk. He leaned close to me. I could smell his expensive cologne. It smelled like lemons and money. He said, "Sister Grace, stop talking like a bushwoman. This is not juju. This is spiritual law. Nothing goes for nothing. You came here crying. You begged me to save his life. You said you would do anything." I screamed, "I did not say I would sell my love. I am his mother. A mother must love her child. It is the law of nature." Pastor Paul shook his head. He looked at me like I was a small child who failed a simple exam. He said, "Listen to me carefully. Sickness is natural. Death is natural. Your son was meant to go. His prime was up. The grim reaper was already holding his hand. You wanted to drag him back. You wanted to change the natural order. To bring life where there is death, you must create a space. The energy must come from somewhere. The cloth cut the cord between you and him. It used the bond of mother and child to burn the sickness away." I looked at him with my mouth open. I felt cold all over. I asked, "So you are saying I paid with my feelings?" He nodded his head. He said, "Transaction complete. You have a healthy son. He will grow up. He will go to university. He will be a great man. But you will just be his guardian. You will feed him and clothe him, but you will never feel that warm fire in your chest again. That is the tithe you paid." I looked at Samuel. He was reaching for the shiny money on the table. He looked so innocent. He did not know that his life cost his mother's heart. I told the pastor, "I don't want this deal. I want to reverse it. Give me back my love." Pastor Paul sat down and picked up a bundle of money. He started counting again. 1, 2, 3. He said, "There is only one way to reverse it, but you will not like it. If you return the miracle, the sickness will return. If you take back your love, you take back his death. Choose wisely, woman." I stood there shaking. The room was spinning. The choice was heavy like a stone around my neck. Love him and bury him, or keep him and hate him? What kind of wicked God would give a mother such a test? I looked at the pastor's face, and I saw no pity. I knew I was alone in this battle. The devil was wearing a suit and sitting right in front of me. I stood in that office for a long time. The air conditioner was humming, but sweat was running down my back. I looked at the white handkerchief in my hand. It was just a small piece of cloth, but it was heavier than a bag of cement. Pastor Paul was still sitting there. He was watching me like a cat watching a rat. He was not rushing me. He knew that the trap had caught me tight. I looked down at Samuel in my arms. He was tired of the silence. He started to squirm and make small noises. He reached out his small hand and touched my chin. His fingers were sticky because he had put them in his mouth. Before today, if he touched my face, I would kiss his fingers and make him laugh. But today, I just felt irritation. I wanted to wipe the saliva off my face. I wanted to put him down on the floor. I closed my eyes and tried to force my heart to work. I said inside my head, "I love you, Samuel. I love you, my baby. I love you more than silver and gold." I waited for the feeling to come. I waited for that warm fire that starts in the belly and spreads to the chest. I waited for the tears of joy, but nothing came. It was like shouting into an empty well. My words were just empty noise inside my head. I opened my eyes, and the coldness was still there. The emptiness was so big it made me want to vomit. I looked at Pastor Paul. I said, "Pastor, this is too hard. How can a woman live without loving her own child? It is a curse. It is better to be barren than to be a mother with a frozen heart." Pastor Paul shrugged his shoulders. He said, "Life is hard, sister. Every good thing has a price. You want the sweet, you must lick the wrapper. You want the prize, you must pay the price." I took a step forward. I held out the handkerchief. I wanted to give it back. I wanted to throw it at his face. I thought about the days before the sickness. I remembered how it felt to nurse Samuel in the middle of the night. I remembered how his smile used to make my whole day bright. I missed that feeling so much. I was hungry for it. I was starving for love. I thought, if I give this cloth back, the love will return. I will hold him and cry. I will feel his soul connect to my soul. Yes, he will get sick again. Yes, the fever will come back tonight. Maybe he will die in 3 days. But for those 3 days, I will be a real mother again. I will hold him while he dies, and I will pour all my love into him. It sounded like a good plan, to love him to death. I stretched my hand closer to the pastor. He stopped counting the money. He reached out his hand to take the cloth. His fingers were ready to snatch it. But then Samuel sneezed. It was a small sneeze. Cha! I looked down at him. He rubbed his small nose with his hand. He looked up at me and blinked his big eyes. He was breathing fine. His chest was moving up and down smoothly. He was alive. He was strong. If I gave the cloth back, I knew what would happen. I would feel love, yes, but I would watch him burn with fever again. I would watch his eyes roll back. I would watch him gasp for air. And then I would watch them put him in a small wooden box and lower him into the ground. I asked myself, "Grace, are you that selfish? Do you want him to die just so you can feel good about yourself? Do you want him to die just so you can cry at his funeral and say, 'I loved him so much'? That is not love. That is wickedness. A real mother sacrifices for a child. A real mother will jump in front of a car to save her baby. A real mother will starve so her baby can eat. I realized that this was my sacrifice. To save his life, I had to lose my feelings. I had to let my heart die so his body could live. It was the hardest thing in the world. It was a heavy stone I had to carry for the rest of my life. Pastor Paul's hand was still waiting. He wiggled his fingers. He said, "Come on, sister, make your choice. Time is money." I looked at the pastor's greedy face. I looked at the money on the table. I looked at my living, breathing son. I pulled my hand back. I gripped the handkerchief tight in my fist. I said, "No." Pastor Paul looked surprised. He raised his eyebrow. I said, "I will keep the receipt." I turned my back on him. I did not want to see his face again. I held Samuel tight, not with love, but with duty. I held him the way a soldier holds a gun. I held him because it was my job. I walked out of the office. My legs felt like lead. I walked through the dark church. I walked out into the bright sun. The world looked the same, but everything had changed. I was walking into a cold, lonely future, but my son was alive, and that had to be enough. 10 years have passed since that day in the church, and I have become the best actress in the world. Even the people in Nollywood could not act better than me. Every morning I wake up and I put on my costume. I put on my smile. I put on my soft voice. I wear the mask of a loving mother before I leave my bedroom. Samuel is 10 years old now. He is a tall boy. He is handsome and he is very brilliant. In school, he is always taking the first position. When I go for the PTA meetings, the teachers gather around me. They say, "Mommy Samuel, you are trying. Your boy is so well behaved. You must be raising him with so much love and attention." I just smile and nod my head. I say, "To God be the glory." They do not know that it is all a job. Raising Samuel is like working in a bank. I wake him up at 6 o'clock. I bathe him. I iron his uniform until the lines are sharp like a knife. I cook his indomie with plenty crayfish and egg. I drive him to school and I kiss his forehead at the gate. But when I kiss him, I feel nothing. It is like kissing a wall or a plastic cup. Sometimes I look at other mothers. I see how they shout at their children when they are angry. I see how they hug them when they are happy. I see the fire in their eyes. I am jealous of them. I am never angry at Samuel. I am never happy with him. I am just neutral. If he breaks a plate, I just sweep it up. I don't shout because I don't care enough to be angry. If he wins a prize, I just say, "Good job, Samuel." I don't jump up because I don't feel any joy. One evening last week, something happened that made my heart shake with fear. We were sitting in the parlor watching the television. The rain was falling heavily outside. Samuel was doing his homework on the floor. He looked up at me suddenly. His eyes were serious. He has the same eyes as me. He asked, "Mommy, why do you never hug me tight?" I looked at him. I put down the newspaper I was reading. I said, "Samuel, I hug you every day, before you go to school and before you go to sleep." He shook his head. He said, "No, Mommy, you hold me, but you don't hug me. Mama Chinadu hugs her children tight. She squeezes them until they shout. Her body is soft. But when you hold me, your body is stiff. It is like you are holding a bag of rubbish that you want to throw away." My blood ran cold. Children are not foolish. They see everything. Even a blind man can feel the difference between a handshake of love and a handshake of duty. I tried to lie. I tried to act my part. I said, "Samuel, that is not true. I love you very much. You are my only son." He stood up and walked to my chair. He stood in front of me. He looked deep into my eyes. He was looking for something. He was searching for that spark, that warmth, that mother connection. He asked, "Do you love me, Mommy, or do you just take care of me?" The question hit me like a blow to the stomach. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him the truth. I wanted to say, "Samuel, I sold my love to buy your life. I am empty so you can be full. I am a walking dead woman so you can be a living boy." But I could not say that. If I told him the truth, it would break him. It would make my sacrifice useless. So I did the only thing I could do. I lied. I pulled him close to me. I forced my arms to wrap around him. I rested my chin on his head. I closed my eyes and imagined I was an actress in a movie scene. I said, "I love you more than life itself, Samuel. You are my world." He stayed there for a moment. Then he pulled away. He looked at me one last time. He did not look convinced. He looked sad. He picked up his books and walked to his room. I sat there alone in the dark parlor. The rain was beating the roof. Ga-bam, ga-bam, ga-bam. I touched my chest. It was still hollow. It was still cold. I looked at the picture of Samuel on the wall. He was smiling. He was alive. He was healthy. The sickness never came back. The handkerchief did its work perfectly. I realized then that this is my punishment and my reward. I will watch him grow into a man. I will watch him marry. I will watch him have his own children. I will be the perfect mother on the outside, but inside I will always be a stranger. I stood up and turned off the light. I walked to my room to sleep. Tomorrow is another day. I have to wake up early. I have to iron his uniform. I have to cook his food. I have to put on my costume and play my role, because the show must go on.